Welcome to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. This is your number one crypto podcast to hear directly from the movers and shakers, innovators, and disruptors in the cryptocurrency industry. Follow on Twitter for updates and to communicate directly at Woof Big Dawg. That's at Woof Big DAWG. Now, here is your host, the one and only Big Dawg Crypto.
And welcome to the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Big Dawg Crypto. This next guest is a legend of crypto Twitter. I have wanted to have him on for a while, and we finally got him. Notsofast. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Big Dawg. It's nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Man, I appreciate it. So, man, I followed you for a while on Twitter, and obviously your content very much enjoyed. But this is some interesting times because we're looking at the markets right now. We've been in the bear market for a while. I guess I want to start out with, what are your thoughts about where we are specifically with Bitcoin right now, right? But like, what are you seeing going into third and fourth quarter of this year?
Okay, super interesting. I wish I could pin it down to it all popping off in the third and fourth quarter of this year as far as BTC USD goes. Right. But like, the pump is primed, right? Like we've clearly bottomed already, I think. And we're in the disbelief phase of the stock psychology chart where people are like, oh, it's a bull market, but you still have like the perma bear clout chasers trying to say ridiculous numbers to the downside. Yeah. Just if you can get past all that like engagement stuff, it's clear we're in a bear market, but kind of detrimental to the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Are like we're beholden to U.S. laws and regulators who are not acting in good faith to the actual tasks that they were appointed to do. So I want to say we're in bull market. The macro has been quelled for so long that it's time for things to go up pretty hard. But the regulations and specifically Gary Gensler's refusal to provide them for adjacent industries and all that jazz are stopping it from happening because of kind of the uncertainty around the big money and what it can do with this, which is not much. It's sidelined until the rules for moving big money allow big money to move, and it's deliberately sidelined.
Well, and that's kind of what I wanted, because when you look at the stuff now, and you've been in the space a while, and you remember going back to 17 with Jamie Dimon, I'm going to fire any trader and stuff, and then now they have the institutional trading desk, and then even Larry Fink, right, a few years ago, just for terrorists and money launderers. Now they're applying for an ETF. You know what I mean? Like they had this one way. It makes you wonder. And then with Gensler specifically, this guy back when he's at MIT, if you ever watch his videos, oh man, crypto's so great. Now it's like worst thing in the world. I mean, it definitely seems like a deliberate game, right? That's being played here. And I guess, what are your thoughts on that? As far as like, do you think in essence, they're going to say, okay, when it's time to, when BlackRock wants it, it gets granted type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like follow the money type stuff.
You kind of, suggested half of my answer right there. You got to think of who the audience is at the time. So if you're talking crap about Bitcoin on a public stage for a news bite or a soundbite, you're trying to disavow your own interest in it, because with all of these people, they talk their book, whether their book is an investment or whether it's a kind of attempt to increase their power within the structure. So if they're talking down about Bitcoin, what they're doing behind the scenes is not letting anyone else cotton on to the fact that they're doing as deep a dive as they can to see how can we extract maximum flow from this. They're not thinking about it from an investor standpoint. They're thinking it from a standpoint of like co-opt and control and keep the power position to keep like the trade flow haircuts flowing to us. So now that they're starting to change their tune from 4 years ago, where maybe this is positive, what they're doing is they're priming the market for a very kind of limited upside on price wise, but a big increase volume wise that they get to sort of rent seek with it. And that's why I think, we're definitely in a bull market, but the volume's gonna be what the number that goes up more. Sure. So price, at least within the framework of Bitcoin only that we're talking about.
Well, are you one of these though that's kind of like a be careful what you ask for, meaning, okay, look, we all want to see numbers go up, we want to see Bitcoin go up. And let's be honest, a lot of people want to see it go up because they want to see it flow into alts. And some people just want to see it go up because they have Bitcoin and that's all they have, and that's what they want. But there is that thing that says, okay, institutions get in, right? Eventually their paws, right? They want to control it. They don't like the little guy, so to say, controlling it. Do you think that's one of these be careful what you ask for type things?
I mean, yeah, it's a good way of thinking about it, but I don't really know for sure. Like, my position's always been the whole marketplace will interpret regulation and restriction as damage and route around it. It's like a kind of crib from a famous quote by an old pioneer of the internet talking about just information and censorship. Yeah. But this is about prices and markets. But the thing is that we've sort of, since the token boom of 2017 and then the whole regulatory restriction, noose tightening around that, and then the whole FTX and NFT boom of the past couple of years, and then the whole regulatory retightening around that, there is we may be, and the pessimist in me says maybe they have really put us all inside the walled garden of regulations to a point where people care more about numbers going up than they do about like underlying technology or freedom to transact or whatever. They'd much rather get rich in a walled garden than maybe have a lower chance of getting rich outside a walled garden, outside of anyone else's control. So like, it's hard to say. I don't know for sure whether it's going to be the way everybody thinks. I'm hopeful that the restrictions chafe too badly, that people will start trying to move along that vector of getting outside of that walled garden, because the upside outside of it is greater. But if there's one thing these institutions are good at doing, they're good at incentivizing and encouraging people to stay within their walls. And so they will allow numbers to go up and have people's personal wealth increase bigly in like a USD framework, all within that walled garden from where they can capture the flows from. And if that incentive is tasty enough for a majority of enough people, then the regulatory captured environment will kind of work just fine. And there'll always be that little bit of like true free open software, free censorship resistant, state resistant, decentralized money thing going on, bubbling in the background. And what they want is for it always to be like existing enough for it to be a positive narrative force when they want to pay attention to it, but that it never actually matters as a tool for freedom, for rebellion, for stepping outside of the walled garden that they want to create.
That's definitely an interesting way to look at it, and I agree with you on that. There's no doubt. And you've seen, obviously, you've been in the space a while. Well, I want to ask you that. How long have you? I know I followed you on Twitter for years. When did you first get into crypto, and specifically, and I always like to know, like, when you first heard of Bitcoin, do you remember where you were, like what you were doing, and who told you about it?
Oh yeah, man. I'll tell you, I was like personally struggling financially, and reading about it in the online, in like a tech blog, California tech blog called Boing Boing, in about late 2010, early 2011. They were all very against it. They were busy talking about how it couldn't work. So the furthest I got was I downloaded a Bitcoin QT wallet, and I tried to set it to mine with my laptop CPU, but of course that didn't work. And I was like, well, this is cool. Maybe I'll come back to it. But all the people I looked up to say it's stupid, so it's probably just stupid. And then I didn't come back around to it till the end of 2013, when I saw some Dogecoin memes coming out. And I'm like, okay, look, this is a way to not take it too seriously. I don't have to, I can indulge my curiosity without, while also acquiescing to these experts that I listen to that say it's stupid, because this is by definition stupid and just a meme and not to be taken seriously. And so that was where I fell in headlong. By like December, I was trying to get some Dogecoin from some faucets. By January 2014, I was buying GPUs because I was, even though I had like barely any money, I was like, well, I can just make this for myself. And then it just kind of steamrolled into me mining like Dogecoin, mining a bunch of other coins, and then getting a bunch of miners, like setting stuff up, and then speculatively mining to increase my Bitcoin stack and my Dogecoin stack. And then that whole spec mining culture became kind of what popped off, because I would post all my plays and stuff on Twitter just as like a trading log, but like a mining log, basically.
Yeah. Nice. And so I guess if you think about like in 2017, when Bitcoin hit the all-time high, then I think it was December of 17, did you start to have like friends and family come out the woodwork type thing and be like, hey, tell me about it?
Yeah, it was.
Have you heard about this thing called Bitcoin? You're like,
yeah. Well, that 2017 make it moment was where it came super real for me. And there's a million stories that, because of my OPSEC stuff, I hesitate to say on like a large public platform, but for the upshot is that, and the way I've told it to people that can grok it most easily is, before there were tokens that anybody could create, there was just like, you wanted to make a crypto token, you got a bunch of people together and they mined it, and whether the network took off well or not, that's all there was. So that's all I had been doing for the past 3 years. And then when that market boom happened, everybody wanted to buy Bitcoin and or all these other coins, and like I was the guy holding bags of it. So it was just like a weird, super surreal moment to go from a negative net worth dipshit to like, suddenly I'm the guy. And it was very strange. And I'm happy I got through it with like kind of my life and my identity intact. To the betterment of my own situation and the situation of my family. I definitely didn't play it like I should have in hindsight, but we've all done stuff like that. And that was sort of the moment where I knew a few things paid off for myself. First off, I didn't really talk about what I was doing to almost anybody, even personally. I had created this online pseudonym, and that's where I did it, because I was like, well, this is all really weird, and if the best outcome happens and it gets to be really good, I want these protections in place. Like, I don't want to have that lottery winner effect where everybody starts knocking on the door, like second cousins come out of the woodwork asking for you to pay some medical bills or whatever, right?
Pretty much, which is going to happen. No doubt.
So that was always one of my things that I was trying to like set a good example to do, have good OPSEC, and that served me then, and it still serves me to this day.
Do you, now when it comes now, do you trade alts? Are you mainly Bitcoin, or how do you do as far as like your overall with the market?
So trading, like I had a background in trading way before crypto. I was really bad at it, so that's why I was in such a bad financial situation when I discovered it.
Right. It's hard to trade for this sometimes. It's gonna be hard.
I wasn't bad. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. My strengths are I have really good gut feel, trigger finger, and risk appetite. My weaknesses are that I have I'm very lazy. I'm not good at or interested in doing a lot of due diligence. I like being able to do really quick analyses and jump on stuff really quickly. So like I was a scalper for a while. And I think with Bitcoin and crypto, you have to recognize when the market is playing to your strengths. So like I will be trading and making like little daily swing trades and stuff all the time in like the window of a heady bull market. Like I was trading a bunch in 2021. Lately, I hardly ever put on any actual trades. It's just not my skill set. What my skill set is like kind of a holdover from the mining days, where I'm looking to recognize places where I can get in on the ground floor and have like a massively outsized risk return ratio, like have it go to zero or have it go like 100x. That's what I'm looking for. So where that is right now is to a small and more frequent extent in markets that are still not denominated in USD or stablecoins. So that's been primarily NFTs, even though that market has super cooled off right now. I don't think it's dead forever. think there's a kind of a new area coming to it, but possibly not as spicy as 2021 was. But kind of more to the point this year, I think, especially where in the cycle where the bear market turns to a bull market, all the tourists have gone and the only people left are builders, and builders are asking for reasonably sized valuations in terms of like equity injections so that they can cut you in. So basically what I'm doing right now is trying to find either people I trust a lot that I know they've had their track record in the space and invest in whatever they're working on right now, or new stuff that's going on, because right now when the tourists aren't pseudo pretending to build something that they're going to rug next, the stuff that gets built right now has the greatest chance of already being there when all the attention returns to this market.
Yeah,
which is
I love that term, the tourist. No, I'm going to use that for now.
Yeah, man,
you know what I mean? Like,
it's not even mine, but yeah, pass it along because it's my favorite way to describe it.
It's funny because like you think about like in 17, because like I got in early 17, and so just going to analyze or watch this space. And I remember, by the time all-time high hit in the end of 17, right? You had everybody coming out the woodwork. And the next thing you know, where I'm going to, the tourist, I love that. And then obviously went down, and you stayed here in the 18 to 19. And it wasn't until 2021 that everybody, came in. And like, I talked to somebody the other day who, handles stuff with money and stuff. And he's like, invest different things. He's like, I am not buying it at 30. He's like, once it hits 50, I'll buy some. I'm like, dude, why would you not buy it? Well, no, because once it hits 50, I'll be confident it's going back up. It's like, but that, that's the mind frame, right? People are not, once we hit 69, like, we'll have buyers at 50, but way more at 69. And let's say it goes to 100, 120, then crashes down to 60 as an example, right? Then, it goes on. But it's like, just like in the end of 2021, that's when, as they say, your Uber driver, your the haircut, whatever it may be, right? So, they're coming back more than likely at some point, and it gets news. And we know, like the mainstream media, I mean, you've seen all the headlines. I know, like my brother would send me all the headlines, every day saying, especially with FTX, right? It's dead, it's going away, it's never coming back. And then you're seeing it now, like the ETS stuff hasn't really made a lot of mainstream news, but then once, Bitcoin hits the all-time high, the tourist. I love that. It's just funny because it's like that's like walking like this crowded area, like it's like a bar or cafe. Hey, look, I have been here for 7 years. You're just discovering it now, but you're gonna walk in, right? It's happy hour, then you're gonna walk out.
Yeah, man. Well, it's the metaphor is so apt for so many reasons. Like when I came in early 2014, and when you came in 2017, like we were both tourists. We were both checking in.
Oh, sure.
Like, I'm probably not going to be here forever. Most tourists go home. But we liked it so much, we stayed here. And so when you're talking about people saying, I'm not going to get in at 30, I'll get in when it hits 50. They're like, well, I'm not going to come before like the season with nice weather. I'm going to wait till the nice weather. That's exactly kind of what happens. And the cyclicality of it is all due to the barriers to participation being like super non-existent. All the rent seeker stuff that we talked about earlier, like they're trying to impose barriers on it, and they can and they will to an extent, but like there's going to be a part of it that always everybody can get in, with a minimum amount of friction. And so there's always going to be tourists trying to make outsized an outsized betterment of their lot in life and do it via this almost completely frictionless way to get into.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I think too, you get a lot, and I think especially like on crypto Twitter, we get to see a lot of the people that have been here, right, throughout the bear markets, that have been here no matter what they came for. Yeah, they want to see the gains and everything else, but they get the concept of why crypto, specifically Bitcoin, matters, right? The way that it works and what it represents. And so those people actually, they give a shit, right? They're here for a reason, as opposed to other people that are coming in. And look, nothing wrong with coming in and trying to make a gain in this. It's almost like, but I came for the party, but I don't get what the term is. But you know what I mean? Like I came for this and I stayed for whatever. But it's definitely either you get it or you don't. I've always said that.
Yeah, and I think there's a sort of degree where we make fun of it ourselves. Like, oh, it's all. Some traders will do it all the time. Like, oh, it's all Ponzi's all the way down. Like, there's nothing actually fundamental backing this. Like, and plenty of stuff is like that. Plenty of things have they get big valuations for being like a level 1 crypto token, and not having any actual decentralization. Like, there's 3 servers that it runs on. There aren't those aren't individual nodes, and they're just like trading vehicles. And a lot of it is like narrative driven under false or nearly false or like LARPy pretenses. But we are fortunate to have stuff like, well, not stuff like, but Bitcoin and few other things similar to it that are actually decentralized and sort of underpinning the fundamentals of all the rest of it, and the fundamental related narratives that kind of drive volume in all the rest of it. So like there is a certain amount of, yeah, this isn't as good as it purports to be, but like some of it still is, and that's why it all stays here. So like I think you were saying kind of the exact same thing. I'm just using
no, but it's funny when you talk about, some people say Ponzi, like Jim Cramer, right? He's one of these mainstream figures that calls it a Ponzi, and yet he I think in 2021, end of 2021, he sold like $1 million worth of Ethereum and like paid off his farm or something.
Yeah, hey, good for him. He's one of those people. He's got the blessing and the curse of always having to have an opinion. And he's so easy to be, he's a weatherman, right? And like,
whatever way it goes.
There's charts and historic charts where you can say exactly how wrong he's been, how many times. And so it's unfortunate for him because everybody makes a meme out of him. But the guy's got his finger on the pulse by virtue of his actual job and being a figurehead of it. So like, no more power to him for drifting off of it. Like I have the same love-hate relationship with that talking head that he is, that everyone else does, but I see, that he's not as clueless as we might make him out to be. To say something.
And he'll also be a tourist again after the next all-time high. More than
he's
likely,
got to talk about what's hot. That's all it is. He's got to talk.
Yeah, right. Well, so speaking of that, so that's obviously, the question everybody always likes to ask, and I'm sure you get asked this too, and everybody wants to know, and I get a speculation, but coming up in April of next year, when do you see all-time high being hit? If you had to speculate, if you want to say a quarter, a few months, a year, never, what are your thoughts?
I mean, let's go with.
You want to give a range too?
Yeah, let's go with what I want, which is the actual faster than expected cycle where we go into like the return from summer, because this is all kind of institutional driven, right? Go back, we come back from summer and it's like full on clear regulations drop. Institutional money wants to pile in and set things off because there's really nowhere to get yield outpacing inflation anymore, and so they want to do it with Bitcoin, and that's what they want to do. And the price constricting manipulators that want to capture flow, just let it rocket right past all-time high before the end of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, big Merry Christmas, big feel-good thing for everybody going on. That's where the ball is right now in my estimation. It might not happen, but I would like it to happen.
Do you, as far as a price though, as far as like a top price, let's say between now and 2025, would you want to hit a price target?
Like I think they're gonna. This will certainly be wrong, but I think that if the flow capturers are properly in control, then the upside to the price target will be significantly under the roughly 3x that it was from 2017 to 2021. So the cap on it will be like 150 grand for Bitcoin.
150.
Go past that significantly, then we'll know that the institutions aren't actually in control, and then the fun begins.
Right. Oh, jeez. That's some high numbers to think of. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like in that 120, 150 range, and then it's like it goes back down, and then you've got people, let's say they bought it at 60 or 70, and they go, oh my god, they bought it, let's say 120, 150, then it goes to 60. Oh my gosh, the worst thing ever, and it just continues. So, but yeah. Yeah, it's interesting times, that's for sure. So, okay, well, so one final thing I want to ask you, at least on this, when you look at what you want to see, we're talking about with Bitcoin stuff too, but let's just say you mentioned about NFTs, how they've been, right? And perhaps, how they're going to come back, and they're not going anywhere. I think, no one doubts that, but obviously the situation with them, right? The utilities and whatnot may change a bit. What do you see between those and just the space in general, or let's say, what do you want to see like in the next year and a half adoption? And this is such like a wide question, right? I get that, but what are one or two things overall that you would like to see in this space in a year and a half that you think would kind of make it better, make it more accessible? You know what I'm saying? Like just make it more of what we want to see.
I really think that along the same lines of like what they will let us do with Bitcoin, which, I'm not super jazzed about, but it seems to be the way the wind is blowing. I think corollary to the ETF style, what institutional money can and can't invest in with respect to Bitcoin, there'll also be some like a rider of pretty clear standards for what can and can't be tokenized. And again, this is all for existing organizations to try and fend off and retain the flow that they already have in industries where like crypto tokens were created to try and disrupt. So like a lot of real world stuff will be allowed to tokenize for profit and or efficiency. But even more important than that is like the boom of digital goods will continue, most likely through the existing gaming vector, and tokenized goods will have a whole massive thing built out, and that will all just be NFTs under the hood. People won't even know or recognize it. They'll just be using them because that's where the boom is happening. And that's kind of what I would like to see. That will happen alongside all this other stuff because, numbers are going up. People are drawn to that.
Sure. It brings more people in.
Both sides, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, all new people coming in. So I'm very grateful to have like a lot of new people. I'll get messages that are like new in the space and like checking the podcast out and whatnot. So I want to ask, like when I got in and tried to learn about stuff, I feel like I got some good info. Man, I followed some crappy, you know what I mean? Like there's some YouTube people that I watched that like, I can't, like they was all shilling and stuff. And I wish I would have. What would you say for new people in the space to say, hey, look, I want to ask you, what's the best way for me to learn about the space between, Twitter and YouTube and whatnot? What's a couple of best ways to research, would you say, for people to find out?
Yeah, I think the best thing that people who are brand new can do is figure out how far you can get without spending any money at all before you buy anything. Like, and this is probably along the lines of like, figure out how to use Bitcoin, the software, rather before you acquire Bitcoin, the asset. Almost nobody's going to do it this way. You might get a little bit of Bitcoin first, like from Coinbase or whatever, but then like download a Bitcoin wallet, like see for yourself how much hard drive space the blockchain takes up and like how kind of clunky and old feeling it is, but learn to recognize that this is fully within your control and nobody else has to stop it. And then send that Bitcoin from Coinbase to your own personal wallet. Learn how the tech side of it works in advance of sort of looking at the investment side, because you'll have an edge on so many people that just never get around to it, that when things do sort of crack down, you can simply opt out rather than have to accept what's presented to you. And I think in that moment, you'll recognize the power and the value that this all has.
Gotta agree with that. Few last questions. Let me ask you, who comes out first and supports Bitcoin, Peter Schiff or Nouriel Roubini?
Oh my goodness. I think Peter Schiff is closest, mostly because of his son. I think Nouriel Roubini is such a curmudgeon. He's had me blocked for 5 years. I have no idea what's going on.
Really? Well, that's kind of a badge of honor, although it's Yeah,
I got a few of those badges. But Peter Schiff will come around first.
No, and I agree with you on that. And I think because of his son, like hopefully Peter Schiff's kind of like that lovable villain, like we all kind of like to have fun with. But at the end of the day, look, hopefully he lives a long time. But when he passes away and moves on, damn well his son Spencer's going to go ahead and convert everything to Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
hey Dad, thank you for going, because he got a lot of money, and that's going to be a big Bitcoin buy.
I think he's played the heel for us for so long, and he knows he can do it. Like he knows that to him, Bitcoin is a way for him to get more attention, and he loves that he's able to use it so easily.
Yeah, his engagement is off the charts with that, and the fact is he accepts it on his website. Well, it's a third party. It doesn't matter. I can't pay with tulips and beanie babies on your website. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, man.
So,
You got it.
So, and let me ask you, if they actually do have the cage fight, who wins? Elon Musk or Zuckerberg?
Zuck's looking pretty yoked, man. I don't know. Elon has that giant brain. If he can figure out a way to train up to put up a good show with someone who's like 20 years younger than him, I'll watch it. I mean, with popcorn, but I don't have a dog in the fight, really.
I mean, can you imagine if he must start getting shaved and stuff? Can you imagine the pay-per-view on that? Like, on the Dana White's like salivating.
Yeah, it would be pretty spicy.
Yeah. So, okay, a couple final questions. If you're getting ready to get on a plane this weekend, you going anywhere in the world, what's a country or two that you want to go that you haven't been to?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I really haven't seen much of Asia. I'd like to check out the Philippines or Singapore. I think those would be pretty cool places to go. Thailand, maybe.
I've heard all those. I've not been to those places. I've heard all those are cool. Especially Singapore too.
Singapore.
And then favorite food. If you're going out to eat, what's something people know a little personal side about you? What do you like to eat? What do you like to do like spare time?
I will any day. I will just barbecue a steak if I can't think of anything else to do. Just barbecue a steak.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And how do people find you? I mean, I know obviously we've connected on Twitter, but what's the best way for people to reach out? And what's your social best way?
Just at Notsofast on Twitter is kind of the number one place where I am. And I don't do a lot of alpha posting. It's mostly shit posting these days as someone who's just kind of
that's most of look, come on. That's most of crypto Twitter.
Yeah, it is. It is. So that's but that's the be all and end all of where I am and what I'm doing, and anything else is just kind of an offshoot of that.
Nice. Well, Notsofast, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast, brother. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's mine, Big Dawg. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. Follow on Twitter at WoofBigDawg. Woof. Big DAWG. And run faster than the competition. Woof, woof.